Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Amphianne here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 5 of What If Izuku Was Majin. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So we begin. A screen focused on a nervous Izuku looking at the fake city, while another focused on an enthusiastic Mina jumping up and down. Vami chuckled, saying that those are the two basic reactions to be feeling in this situation. Nervous or excited? After they chuckled at the two, Vami and All Might pay close attention to their respective students and hope they can pass. With Izuku, he was sweating bullets, while the other students talked about what holds in front of them. None of them were more afraid than him. This city is huge, and everyone here is so confident, Izuku thought as his body was stiff. Izuku closed his eyes, concentrating on keeping calm and his energy low. As Izuku calmed down, he noticed familiar energy in the crowd. He opened his eyes to find that energy signature and noticed who it was. It was that brunette girl who stopped him from falling. It appeared that she was doing a breathing exercise to calm herself down. Oh, it's the same girl! Izuku stiffly walked towards her. I need to thank her for catching me. Izuku made his way as someone else turned to see Izuku walking toward the girl. Izuku reached out his hand to get her attention, but he felt someone else coming towards him. Izuku turned around to see a boy that called him out in the presentation. Tenya Ida, giving him a serious look. Izuku immediately backed up in fear as Ida began to speak. And what are you about to do, sir? Ida questioned Izuku. Izuku was stunned to speak as Ida looked over Izuku's shoulder to see the brunette girl calming herself down. Ida looked back at Izuku and asked in a curious tone, were you trying to distract that fellow lady from staying calm and focused for the test? Izuku put his arms in front of him as he explained how he wasn't trying to distract her, but to thank her for helping him. But Ida wasn't having any of it, as various students looked at them. Izuku was feeling more embarrassed by many people staring at him. Students around asked if that was the same guy, called out during the presentation, and many of them said, yes, that is the same guy. They called Izuku names, from a nervous wreck to a weirdo. Everyone thought to themselves how lucky they were to have someone like Izuku. The girl looked behind her because everyone else was looking at something with a smile. She took a closer look at what they were smiling at, and noticed puffy green hair with an antenna sticking out on the top, and a boy with short blue hair adjusting his glasses. The girl noticed who it was and walked towards Izuku. But before anything else could, all the students jumped whenever they heard a scream. They looked up to see President Mike standing on top of the building screaming at them. And begin! President Mike shouted as students stared on in confusion. Mike stared back as he cleared his throat. Well, what are you waiting for? The sound of a gun? A horn? Someone else to say go? Don't stand there like deer in headlights! Get moving! Everyone was hesitant to move until a pink boy pushed through them in the gates. All the other students followed suit as they spread out throughout the city. Izuku was deep in thought about what Vami talked about as he ran around the city, searching for the pointer villains. Remember what Aunt Vami said, stay calm and stay focused. Izuku quietly repeated to himself. Izuku kept looking around the empty streets of the fake city, with the occasional student appearing there. As he was searching, Izuku noticed several three-pointers rushing at him. Izuku stopped in his tracks as they approached him quicker. Izuku and Mina met up with each other after finishing the written part of the exam. They talked about the exam as they walked towards their respective buses to their exam sites. Man, even with you and Aunt Vami helping me study for the written part, Mina sounded deflated as she sunk to the ground. They were still tough as hell! Izuku patted Mina on the back as she sighed. Izuku too. Mina looked up at Izuku and noticed his expression changed. She questioned what was bothering him. Izuku was nervous to ask her, but Mina said he needed to say it before slipping up. Are you sure you're ready, Mina? Izuku questioned his friend, who gave him a confused look. I mean, even though we trained for it, I'm still afraid of you using one for all. Mina winced whenever she heard Izuku talking about one for all. She thought back to whenever she was told about how her body wouldn't handle it, and exploding her into pieces. Mina shook the thought as Izuku talked about how Mina could focus on using her acid quirk. Mina karate chopped Izuku on the forehead as she stood back up. Izuku rubbed his head and looked up to see Mina smiling at him.
Don't worry about it. We trained for this, and I won't use it.
Mina happily stated as she held out her fist in front of Izuku. Izuku noticed her nervous voice behind that smile, but didn't say anything about it. Izuku smiled and fist bumped Mina.
But you promised me that you will pass this exam as well.
Mina, All Might, Aunt Vami. Izuku thought as he stood face to face with multiple three-pointers launching themselves towards him. Izuku clenched his fist and threw himself towards them. Izuku fell through robots, destroying the inside of the robot, with each robot falling to the ground. I won't let you guys down! Vami watches Izuku run throughout the city, destroying multiple 1, 2, and 3-pointers as if they were nothing. She smiled at herself. With all the training Izuku and Mina received, they should be able to pass the exam with flying colors. All Might gives a thumbs up to Vami, and Vami gave him a thumbs up back. A few claps could be heard in the room, and it came from the bear, mouse, and dog hybrid principal of UA High, Nezu. Amazing! Nezu happily stated as he watched the screen. The rest of the staff watched all the students with different attributes, from speed to strength. Everyone in the room was impressed, with most of the students even planning to add them if they passed. These students are truly amazing, especially that one right there! Nezu pointed at the screen, with Izuku punching through the robot. Who might that young boy be? Vami was about to speak before someone else answered her. Vami and All Might looked back to see a long, black-haired man who looked tired and slept on the street. The man was holding a clipboard with sheets of paper with sure students that got his attention. He flipped through the documents. 2 of them had the title accepted on them, and he finally got the pink boy himself. The sheet says that his name is Izuku Midoriya, the man explained with little enthusiasm in his voice. All Might jokingly said how this man could be a hero. Vami giggled at the joke, and All Might chuckled until something slapped him in the back of the head. They looked behind to see the man angrily staring at them, holding some weird scarf. All Might rubbed his head in embarrassment as Vami chuckled at him. The man continued speaking. The boy's quirk is called Pinky. Everyone paused for a second at what the man just said about Izuku's quirk. Then, All Might looked back at the screen, with Mina running through the streets, throwing acid at the villains' faces, causing them to attack her.
All right, with less than 5 minutes left on the clock and a good amount of point under my belt,
Mina thought. She suddenly heard metal clinking near her. She looked behind to see a 2-pointer rushing at her. Mina cupped her hand as acid formed out of her hand, going at the robot, causing it to glitch out and stop in front of her.
I should make it into UA.
Mina ran out of the streets to see them filled with destroyed robots and students arguing with each other. She hears multiple students talking about how many points they have so far. One student with puffy lips stated that he had 30 points, while the other with weird elope said she had 25. Mina stopped listening to the others as she continued to walk away from them. Well, it appears that they are a few minutes left on the clock now, Nezu stated as he flipped open a case with a big red button. He pushed the controller, and on the screen, numerous streets began to open with red lights piercing through the dark. All Might and Vami worried for their successor, because the principal laughed at what he had just awoken. It's about time to awaken the real challenge! Izuku and Mina looked at what they saw in front of them. Giant robots staring down at them menacingly. Each of them had a unique way of managing their respective robots. This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN allows you to change your IP address, making it harder to track and securing your privacy. In addition to providing safe passage through the web, you can also expand the reach of your favorite streaming services, like Disney+. If you're from the United States, you won't be able to watch any of the MCU and Sony Spider-Man movies. But by switching your location to Japan, you can access them whenever you want. Check out the link in the description to get 3 extra months when you purchase the 12-month subscription plan that costs $99.99 a year. This deal is for a limited time, And thanks to ExpressVPN for sponsoring this video. With Mina, she was running away from the giant robot along with other students. She cannot fight against this giant robot. Mina was almost safe from the danger until she stopped in her tracks and came face to face with something, a shadowy figure. The figure was hard to identify, but it looked foggy, but it felt like they were watching her. Mina wanted to run from it, but she couldn't move. She tried to speak to it, but nothing would come out. Finally, Mina could stare at the figure as it began to talk to her. "Don't run," a voice called out to her. Although no one else could see it, they noticed that Mina was in a trance. They wondered why she was standing there, watching them run. Finally, a yellow-haired boy ran up to her to move her from the danger, but when the boy reached out to Mina, she immediately ran towards the robot.
Why is my body telling me to fight?
Mina questioned herself as she reached the robot. She looked up at the robot to see its arms coming at her. Mina prepared to jump at the robot, but something was happening to her body whenever she jumped. The power of One for All coursed through her body. Mina jumped towards the robot with fantastic height and speed as All Might smiled at Mina's accomplishments. "That's it, young Mina," All Might happily thought. "Tense up your body and scream this at the top of your lungs." Mina screamed out, punching the robot in the face. The robot had a massive dent in front as it fell back from the intense punch. All the student and staff were shocked at what she had just done. Mina unlocked One for All.
That was intense! Now I just need to figure out how to land.
Mina thought. She looked around in the air as she was falling to see if there was anything she could use to stop her from hitting the ground. Unfortunately, she didn't see anything that would help. But something terrified her. Both of her legs and punching arm were dark purple and flinging around her.
My legs and arm! They're broken!
Everyone watched as Mina was aimlessly falling in the air. Nobody knew what to do or how to catch her. Mina closed her eyes as she was nearing the ground until she felt something catch her. She opened her eyes to see three people: the yellowed-haired boy that tried to help, the earlobe girl, and the puffy lips boy. Mina wanted to thank them, but passed out before she could say anything. With Izuku, he just stood there in fear as multiple students ran past him, saying that none of them could take on this villain. Tenya ran past Izuku with a serious look, wanting to say something to him, but decided not to, and continued running away. Izuku began to move again, as he started to run from the falling debris. He was about to make it safely until he heard a voice behind him. Izuku turned to see the same brunette girl underneath the fallen debris.
Someone!
The brunette girl cried out.
Help me!
Izuku did not think for a second as he ran towards the girl. Izuku's energy began to spread throughout his body as he focused on protecting the girl. He made it to the girl and focused on moving the debris off of her. She noticed that the boy was about to remove it before she screamed out that the hand was close to them. Izuku did not know if he could punch away the hand, but he could do something else instead. What he was about to do would cause Vami to scream at him, but he did not care, just as long as the girl was safe. Izuku held out his hand and quickly concentrated in his hand. Just like Vami, Vami noticed what Izuku was trying to do and wanted to stop him, but there was nothing she could do about it. "Turn into candy!" Izuku shouted. A ball of light appeared out of his palm and fired straight at the villain's hands. Izuku thought it would turn the entire robot into candy, but the ball of light destroyed the robot's whole arm instead of candy. Everyone, especially Vami, was amazed at what the boy had just done. A ball of light destroyed the entire robot's arm. Izuku broke out of his trance as he removed the debris from the girl. Once the girl was free, they noticed that the robot was using its other arm to attack. Izuku did not know if he could use it again, so he grabbed the girl and threw her out of the way. The arm contacted Izuku and smashed him. The robot removed its arms out of the way as everyone noticed a pink pile of goo on the ground. "Time's up! The exam's over, everyone!" President Mike screamed out as the students finished. Everyone was staring at what happened to the two students that faced off against the giant robots. Mina Ashido, lying down on the ground with two broken legs and an arm. All of the students were looking at Mina in the boy's arms. The three that caught her questioned how they could help her. They continued asking about assisting Mina until they heard a voice in the crowd. An old lady doctor with a syringe came. Recovery Girl.
All of you did amazing today.
Recovery Girl stated as she walked and handed out candy to the students. The students looked at her and wondered who she was. Then, Recovery Girl made her way to the three students holding Mina in their arms.
Oh dear, did her quirk do this to her?
Recovery Girl questioned the three students as they nodded their heads. She sighed as she puckered her lips and kissed Mina. Everyone looked at her in confusion, then asked why she thought a kiss would heal her injuries until they felt something weird happening to Mina. Mina's body was healing quicker than any medical doctor could. It's as if months of recovery are happening before their eyes. Once finished, she completely recovered Mina's bruised body, but she was still knocked out. Recovery Girl told the students to lay her down on the sheet and for the robots to take her to the nurse's room. Everything seemed to be going fine with Mina. But as for Vami, everyone was shocked by the pink boy that saved the girl with the cost of him becoming a pile of goo. The girl and Tenya were devastated at what the boy just did for the girl. They kept staring until they heard panting coming from behind them. They turned to see Vami running in and kneeling on the ground where Izuku was. Tears began rolling down her face at this moment, reminded her of something very painful.
I'm sorry, Chivo.
Vami quietly cried out. The brunette girl and Tenya kneeled and patted her on the back. All were silent until the three noticed that the goo began to move away from them. They stepped back as all the pink goo started to form in the shape of Izuku. What just happened? Izuku questioned as he looked around him. He saw that the robot was powered down and the building's debris surrounding him. He looked forward to seeing Aunt Vami, the brunette girl, and Tenya staring at him in shock. Aunt Vami? What are you? Izuku was cut off by Vami grabbing him and pulling him into a hug.
Chivo!
Vami hugged Izuku with tears forming down her face.
I thought I lost you.
Izuku paused for a second before hugging her. The students and staff all collectively gave a sigh of relief for Izuku. Then, Vami let go of Izuku and began talking about how he could have survived the attack or reform his entire body. Vami kept theorizing about Izuku, but something was bothering Izuku. Whenever she hugged him, he heard her say, Jivo. Who could this Jivo be? Izuku wanted to ask her, but she was still talking about how Tenya and the brunette girl questioned if Izuku was okay, and Izuku replied that he felt terrific. He feels stronger than before. They looked at him with concerned looks, and Vami was surprised. Vami placed a mental note for her to learn more about Izuku and herself. Izuku also puts a mental note for him to know more about Vami. The tired man watched Izuku and Mina being handed by the staff. Both Izuku and the girl have different quirks entirely from what they have on the paper. The tired man looked down at Izuku and Mina's papers. Then, he smiled at them and chuckled. This is going to be interesting. In the room, the robot's bug flew around to get a better view of the three certain people. Izuku, Vami, and Mina. In a different area, Dr. Jiro laughed hysterically at the screens with all the students battling the robots. Yes, Aizawa. Jiro laughed as he walked towards a green tube. He placed his hand on it, with something in the middle of it. It is going to be fun. Thank you all for indulging yourself in all this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials have got you covered. Our We the Celestials My Hero Academia and Naruto What If channels retell the stories of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, then I'd like to extend you an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being that we only accept members from 16 years and up to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interest by joining the recruitment Discord using the link below. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching and have a great day.